Speaking of talking, Alec Baldwin, our favorite character, he's a recurring character in this podcast, as he is on every newscast.
He is. We should have him in one time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway, he can't stop talking about this case. He has now responded to the FBI reports saying that he believes that a private investigator who he's hired has assured him,
yes,
that New Mexico authorities will not be indicting him for a crime.
Amazing.
Again, I have to ask you this because this is more up your street. I mean, you must probably wake up in a cold sweat with the idea of having a client like Alec Baldwin.
I do. But all lawyers have those clients where you give them advice and, behind the scenes, we often talk and laugh about it. It's like, well, you give your client advice and then sometimes they do exactly the opposite of what you tell them to do. What I find interesting here is that he's trying to get out front of this story.
As is his lawyer, by the way.
Yes.
I wanted to point that out.
Yes.
Usually, I think his lawyer to some degree has thrown up his hands and said, okay, I might as well just start talking too.
Exactly. Like they're both competing for the spotlight.
Yes.
So then you take it and you say, why the other day when I was reading this was I thinking, as much as he hates Trump, he acts a lot like him. Like they have similar characteristics. Let me get out in front of this. I'm innocent. It doesn't really matter what anybody else says. Here's how it really is. So what I'm taking from this and, the way the investigation is moving forward, at the end of the day, well, they're being very, very deliberate. So you could say slow, but I think they're being incredibly deliberate because once they come out with whatever their results are, they're going to be questioned backwards and forwards. At the end of the day, we may be in a situation where there's no criminal liability and where the only liability is civil and the remedy is a wrongful death claim that the family has brought.
Right.
That's what we may be looking at because criminal law is all about intent. And I keep seeing a lot of circumstantial evidence here, but I don't see anywhere where, can you say Alec Baldwin intended to kill her? I don't think so. That an intent in criminal law is not just the normal intent that we know, but there's a specific group of elements that you have to prove. But even those elements, I don't think give rise to the fact that he would be convicted of a murder.
Right.
So I think the remedy is going to be a wrongful death civil claim. And it's still going to take a while to play out. Theoretically, the family would get monetary damages for her death.
Right, from the production.
Yeah.
And that's already begun. Those lawsuits have already begun to fly.
Yeah.
Is he at the stage now where he can't, that if he were to stop talking, that would be almost more suspicious than the fact that he keeps talking?
Yeah, he can't stop talking now.
He literally can't
stop talking. No. I think if he did, everyone would get suspicious.
Right.
And then the danger is, if he stops talking, you just never know what he's going to do. I mean, could be something, I'm just saying, like a year later he starts to talk and then it's even worse than what it was when he was talking. So he's kind of created this myth of, rolling the rock up the hill and then down the hill and having now to come out and say something, even when the thing is, when he's speaking, he's not responding necessarily. He's just sort of saying there's this one thing and I'm going to say something about it. It's just sort of random. Yeah. It's not there are reports that come out and then he responds. But when you look at what he's saying and where it's coming from, to me, it doesn't make sense. I think he's just talking and saying, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. And he's Trump. He's like that. Trump.
Right.
Think about it. He plays him. He acts a lot like him.
He has said that, I think in his most recent interview, that he's lost work, that he was preparing to be literally packing his bags, and the producers called up and said no.
Right. That's big. He said he lost 4 or 5 jobs. So people don't realize this. That's a couple $1 million out of his pocket, right?
Would he have lost these jobs if he'd stopped talking?
No, I think if he didn't talk, I don't think he would have lost these jobs. I really don't. He might have lost 1 or 2, but not 4 or 5.
So you think if mouthing off?
Yes, it's hurt him. Absolutely. It's hurt him economically, without doubt. Without doubt. This is Hollywood, right? I mean, everyone wants to keep everything under the radar, right? We have a smooth production here. We're doing a movie. Now, all of a sudden, there's paparazzi outside wanting to get quotes from Alec Baldwin about Rust, right? Who needs it? Who needs the attention? Who needs that kind of energy around a production that we're doing? No one.
Well, it also goes to the notion that we've talked about in the past that Hollywood is a very will-o'-the-wisp, it moves based on the wind, right? And the notion that Alec Baldwin is now damaged goods and leading people to cancel their work with him based on what I think is the common feeling that he's not going to get charged with a crime.
Right.
Just shows you how, in some ways, timid Hollywood can be.
Yes.
And not solid in their convictions about how to treat someone.
Right.
How much longer can this go on, this investigation?
Well, I think it could take another 6 months.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm seeing, there's still things. There's a lot of research and investigation that needs to be done here. Because again, if you go back to the original company that supplied the ammo to the armorer, and then from there, when she gave it to Alec, and then, where it's sort of like a drug deal, right? Where did the original box of bullets come from?
Right.
How far back did you go with that?
Well, you do raise a good point, which is that from the point of view of the investigators in Santa Fe, Alec Baldwin may already be an incidental piece of the investigation.
Right.
The point is, how did a live bullet get in this gun?
Yes.
And why?
Yes.
And I'm with you in that if this investigation ends and Alec Baldwin gets to wipe his hands and say, see, I wasn't charged with the crime, but they don't tell you where the bullet came from, that's a failure.
I agree.
And that would be...
That's what everyone wants to know. And I think that's why they're taking a lot of time, because it's not that easy to determine where it came from. It may seem like it is, but it's not.
Right.